Okay, be great to start with a little bit of background on Cynomi as a company, just how long you've been going, key sort of milestones to date.
Yeah, great. So Cynomi established around 2020. We got our first funding in 2021. So we actually 3.5 years running, having an office in Israel, in the UK, and people in the US as well.
Okay, and the product that you have developed and obviously offer out there is the Virtual Chief Information Security Officer, or vCISO, Virtual CISO platform. So perhaps you can talk us through what it is, please.
Yeah, maybe it's all began when I saw a big gap in cybersecurity, mainly for the SMBs, small and medium businesses, and mid-market. I saw it when I served or worked in the Cybersecurity Authority and the Prime Minister office, trying to protect Israel as a nation, and seeing that so many small and medium businesses and mid-market businesses are attacked from many, many reasons. And if you compare it to a big enterprise, which usually has a CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, the small and medium businesses don't really know what to do, and they trust the service providers usually, if they have some, and the service providers usually sell them tools, some services, but not necessarily the insights of how to protect the company. And that's where Cynomi comes to help the service providers, to help the end customers to understand how to protect the company by providing what we call virtual CISO. So it's a CISO service given by the service provider to the end customers. And using Cynomi, it's possible to provide the services at scale because we automate most of the processes using algorithms, a nice engaging platform in order to create this trust, which is so important between the service provider and the end customer.
Okay, and in terms of the platform, has it got various modules that go together and make the platform? What are the areas? I mean, a virtual CISO, I'm thinking, or shall we say a physical CISO has probably got an awful lot of responsibility. So what does the virtual CISO offer for folks who use it?
Yeah. So it's important to understand what is the role of the CISO in many companies. So I guess that if you're not in the middle of a cyber attack, what a CISO is doing is trying to protect the company and put all the control, the processes that are required. And Cynomi helps the CISO or the virtual CISO to understand what are the gaps of the companies. It's doing that by embedding a set of questionnaires, which are very, let's say, delightful, engaging questionnaires with pictures. So it's very simple for the end customers to do this process. And we call it the subjective data. And then we take the objective data as well from scanning that we are doing or integration with external exposed assets of the company or internal, or taking information from Microsoft Azure, for example. And then we take all this information and we understand what are the gaps of the company, what is the strategy of the company from cybersecurity perspective. And then we help the service provider or the CISO to create a plan in which every quarter they understand what to do in order to have a better posture. And we give a number for this posture. This number represent, let's say, the risk of the company. So the number is from 0 to 10, and we'll do the assessment. And let's say you get 2 out of 10, and you understand that you want to be 4, or you want to be 5, and then you want to be 7, and eventually you want to be 9. And Cynomi helps you to understand how to prioritize all the tasks that you have to implement in order to achieve it. And we're doing it from mainly two perspectives. One is from cybersecurity, so to be better secured. And the second thing, which is very important for the CISO, is compliance. So we know how to map the requirements that Cynomi produce from cybersecurity perspective to the different compliance framework like the NIST-CSF version 8, CMMC, ISO 2701, HIPAA, etc., etc. So a company that want to be both secured and compliant, and also in many cases they want to be able to be insured, or they have some requirements from third party. So we take all that and we try to help the CISO to prioritize the plan in order to fulfill all the goals of the company.
Okay, and I think I heard you say that you run it on a quarterly basis. Is that right? So it's you run it once a quarter, and it comes up, I guess, with, as you say, the score sheet and the plan, and then hopefully the next quarter you're making gradual improvements, or is it something that you're running constantly in the background and it's
actually continuous? It's a continuous platform, and the CISO decides whether to do the questionnaire every quarter, every month, but you don't really need to do that because you create your strategy tasks and you have task management within the platform. So you manage the platform and you increase the score like a play. So you want to get the highest score, and each task that you have fulfilled, the score is higher. And then if you have a board meeting, for example, you could show how the score is higher. Sometimes the score can go down if we have new tasks added to Cynomi, because we continuously understand the landscape, and if for example the new AI risks to the company, we add more requirements. So if the company don't do anything, the score will go down, because you always have to add and do more things in cybersecurity.
And in terms of part of the reason we're having this discussion, I believe you're now introducing the platform to MSPs and MSSPs within Europe. So yeah, it'd be good to understand sort of the background to why now you're coming into Europe.
Yeah, it's an excellent question. We started in the US, and we have many service providers as customers in the US. However, mainly from inbound, we got requests from companies in Europe to help them with mainly with the new regulation that we have in Europe, the NIST-2 and DORA. We have several European companies in the UK and some in Europe, but now this year we see lots of interest from service providers to use this regulation as accelerator to do more business and to accelerate their engagement with end customers, because now end customers and mid-market companies, if they have to be compliant with the NIST-2 or DORA, they might don't know that. So the service providers will have to tell them, now you have to be more secured. And I think it gives the service providers huge opportunity. This is the reason that we are strategically in Cynomi. We decided that we are going to add significant effort and budget to the European market.
And in terms of the compliance, I mean, obviously there's pan-European legislation, regulation. Do you also, or are you, whether you do or not now in the future, if there's more national kind of legislation requirements and even industry specific, are those things that you already do, or you will expand as necessary when you're going into specific countries or industries?
Yeah, you're right. So we have a content team in Cynomi which adds constantly new compliance frameworks or regulations. We just recently did the NIST-2 and DORA, and I know that since NIST-2 is new, every country will have the modification and the own frameworks, and of course there are some regulation for different verticals. So we are going to support our customers and new customers by adding more and more frameworks to Cynomi. Now we support almost 20 frameworks, and I guess it will be more and more significantly.
And I believe, I mean, you mentioned you've got presence in the UK, but I think you're opening is it a separate European sales office, or is that the one in the UK? But also, I think you're pretty much working with some MSSPs, consultants, and distributors. So I guess what is your presence in Europe already, I suppose, is the question.
Yeah, so we had in Cynomi in general, we are an Israeli company, but we have a subsidiary in the UK. Part of our R&D is in the UK, so we have a presence in Europe, if you consider UK as a part of Europe.
Geographically, at least, yes.
Yeah. But the last 6 months, we did several changes in Cynomi. So first, we added a European tenant for Cynomi. So the data is in Europe and not only in the US. And this was the requirement, so initial requirement for many service providers in Europe and in the UK. And I think it's very important because it's cost, it's a development effort, it's cost effort, and we decided that we are going to do that. So now we have a tenant in a physical tenant in Germany to support service providers in Europe. Another thing is that we hired new sales people in the UK to support all the service providers in the UK and in Europe as well. We have more customers in Europe, and recently we opened a physical office in London, so our customers can come and drink coffee or beer with us in the office. It's in Paddington area. Very nice place.
Okay, and a lot of this activity, I know you've also had fairly recently around a funding investment. Yeah. So I'm presuming some of that is gone to this expansion, but are there other things that investment is going to help you, do, whether it's now or,
Yeah. So I guess this was for most of the market was a difficult year. But we in Cynomi, although we had issues, in Israel and the war, we were very successful, and I think it has several reasons. It's of course it's the Cynomi team and execution, but it's also the opportunity that we have, and it's not only Cynomi opportunity; it's the service providers opportunity currently because of the regulation, because of the motivation to give more services to the end customers. So we had a very good performance last year, and this is the reason that we got this A round to support our growth. Working with hundreds of service providers, we get lots of requirements from R&D perspective to support insurance, to support more verticals, to support small MSPs and big MSPs, and lots of things that might help and accelerate Cynomi and of course the service providers business. So we have a great partner portal in which the partners can vote for the feature they like. So we have so long a list of features, and we are going to extend our R&D efforts and product efforts, and actually we're going to triple our R&D efforts in the UK and in Israel. So this is from making a much better product for our service providers. This is one thing. The other thing which is very important is to continue the growth from sales perspective. So we expand our presence in the US. We open a physical office in Boston area as well, having more salespeople in the US. And of course, as we said before, we opened the office in the UK as well. So in the US, we feel that we understand the market very, very well. We have a lot of tractions, a lot of service providers, and we feel that now it's the right point for us to better understand the market in the EU take advantage of this opportunity we have with the new regulation and have this presence and discussion with different service providers and distributors in order to help the European market to handle these regulations and cybersecurity attacks.
Yeah, I mean, that's perhaps a good point to sort of finish on. Maybe is the future. So I mean, you're starting in, well, you say you've obviously had a UK base, but you're sort of mainland Europe, you're sort of starting out. Would you plan to open over time more sort of physical offices and have a presence across Europe? Are you targeting specific geographical areas to start with? What as much, I mean, I'm sure some of it maybe is a bit secret, but in terms of what you can share as to, you know, how you view your European strategy, I guess, if that's possible.
Yeah, so currently, since we already have an office, including R&D, and my partner and co-founder is from London, so our office will be from there, and from there we're going to handle the different customers that we have in Europe. We have some distributors in Europe already, and we are working with them because now we have a very solid sales motion in the US, lots of opportunities across Europe, not only it's not necessarily Germany, it could be in Finland, Hungary, Austria, and other places. And the thing that when we have more mileage, we could better define where we should put the next office in Europe.
Yeah, and maybe just finally, in terms of the robot, I mean, I think you mentioned a few minutes ago that you have a sort of, you ask users for feedback and they vote on features and stuff. But so it sounds as if there's a big pipeline of things to be added to the platform. Yeah. So it's not like here's the platform, and other than updating it with bits of, you know, new legislation or whatever, it'll stay the same. You're very much looking to grow the platform over time as well, yes?
Yeah. So we have a long pipeline, and I think that there are two types of let's say features or things that we are going to do in a roadmap. First, we want to provide to the end customers of the service provider the best assessment, the best task management, the ability to give them a true AI virtual CISO. So to add all the components which might missing, like third-party assessment, the ability to better manage the task, the ability to have more integration, to take more data, and of course, the ability to use AI within the platform, and generative AI, because people are used to Ask GPT, why not use Cynomi as well? This is one direction. The other direction, which is very tied to the first one, is to be able to create more value to the service providers. So to aggregate all the data that we have and to give the service provider the ability to understand these priorities regarding the customers, to make sure that he could do the right sales motion, being able to onboard all of their customers, whether they want to provide virtual CISO or not, and to help them convince customers to get these advanced services. So I think it could be a great sales tool to the service providers and the virtual CISO tools for the end customers. And combine that, it's a very powerful tool to service providers. I didn't say that we are focusing on service providers, so we are bringing more value to the service providers. It's not like we developing it to the end customer and then take it to the service provider. We are developing it, especially we are selling only to service providers. And I think this is one of the key advantages of Cynomi.
Okay. As you say, I think it would be good to chat again, maybe in the second half of the year.
Yeah, sure.
Find out what else has gone on. But at least for now, it's been great to chat and some lovely insights, information as to what's going on at Cynomi. So, David, really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.